I'm convinced Whit Merrifield listens to this podcast. We badmouthed him all last episode, talking about how he's such a bad Blue Jays, got a 500 OPS, this, that, and the other thing. Guy in a loss comes out and just hits two tankaroonies. Are you kidding me? We talk all about that and more. Lockdown Blue Jays starts right now.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Matt Bonaparte, Ben Shulman here with you on your Friday episode. Thanks for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Ben, the Blue Jays lost 10-5. It was bad. Maybe we jinxed Jose Berrios after talking about how good he kind of was. He was coming back after being so bad. He was finally figuring it out. And then he comes into this game. He gives up a leadoff home run to Jonathan Aranda, and it all kind of goes downhill from there. Berrios only got through 2 innings, gave up 7 hits, 6 earned runs, only got 1 strikeout. Really was not very Berrios-y. This was the first time he gave up more than 2 earned runs since August 29th against the Cubs, so really not that far long ago, but the first time in September. So breaks a streak of being at least solid in a 10-5 Blue Jays loss.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Definitely was not great. I mean, I think we're going to get into more macro Jose Berrios coming up, but at least in the micro here, there's probably a crowd of people listening to us thinking about some of the bad luck. There was some bad luck. There were, I refer to Chris Black, great Sportsnet producer, for the miles per hour on the singles in the second inning that fueled that 3-run inning. First one, 99. Cool. That's a hard hit ball. That should be a base hit. Then we have 61 and 72. Those should absolutely not be base hits. That is what you want coming off the bat. Singles that burned him. And then you have 83, which is kind of in the middle. I mean, it's not total blue, but at the same time, that 95 is a ball considered hit hard. So yeah, it's not a good performance. It's tough that the Blue Jays come out, score in the first inning. George triples and they score, and then they score 2 more in the second inning, completely erase the 3-run first. But Berrios replicates it in the second inning. And we talked about this a lot early in the year, not as much since, but I think it's really hard for an offense sometimes when you go out, you score a run, your pitcher gives up 3. You go out, score, your pitcher gives up 3. And it's like, how much more work do you need us to do? The early runs are really, really killer. It overshadowed some really good performances. Obviously, like you mentioned off the top, 2-hit Whit goes 2-hit out of the yard. Hits a big homer in second inning that doesn't end up being a big homer, but to tie the game at 3, and then gets a nice little consolation 2-run job in the 9th inning. I mean, Whit's been playing better. He's still not playing well, but he's been playing better. What do you think? You think this can spark Whit?
Nope. Nope. I would be shocked. But, if this, what didn't we have a discussion on here about what is Whit Merrifield's best performance or something?
We hit a go-ahead double in a pinch hit opportunity, and we deemed that the best moment he's had as a Blue Jay. And I still think that stands over today because, even though he had a great game, this might be his best performance. Moment.
I guess it's moment.
2-run double overtake a deficit late in the game is more important than these homers.
Also, I don't know how much he's heating up. The guy has 6 hits this month. So,
what's his last What's his last 4 games?
Okay, before today,
it's not so today.
His last 5 games, not including the game that we're covering right now, he had 3 hits in his last 5 games, which is good enough for a 300 average in 5 games because he only had 10 ABs. But
walking,
I guess He walked twice. Yes.
Walking
So I
Whit.
guess that's good
So
for
he's
him.
heating up a little bit.
His OPS is up 3 points. Yep, he's heating up.
He's heating
These are
up
the
a little bit.
consolation prizes that aren't good enough for World Series teams. That's
It's
all I'm
what
saying.
happened when you lose 10-5, guys. We talk about Whit.
How about Foster Griffin getting in this game, huh? How about that?
Yeah. I mean, it made sense to kind of pull the plug on Merriweather. I know you didn't ask that seriously, but I'm gonna go for it anyway.
He had 2 good innings.
No, I mean, look, there's a potentially open spot still for the playoffs. I don't really think so, but there is. And you know what, Foster? Give it your best shot. Give it your best shot. Only threw first pitch strikes to 2 of the 8 guys he faced. Gave up a hit and a walk, but didn't give up a run. He was pretty good. I mean, Richards wasn't good, but Pop and Griffin were pretty good, and they're 2 guys trying to fight to be on this team come playoff time. So that's good.
Foster Griffin traded for Jonathan Bernal.
Yeah, it was a under the radar midseason deal.
Yeah, and guess what? Jonathan Bernal's not making any major league starts right now, and guess who's playing? Foster freaking Griffin.
Boom.
Boom.
Teo goes Yahtzee. Bo with 2 hits. Springer with 2 hits. I don't know. They lost 10-5. They just their pitcher didn't give them a chance, and they lost 10-5.
Yeah, Pop played well though. I'm happy with Pop. He gave up 2 hits, but he got through. Phelps, he gave up a run that wasn't great. Richards was bad, but the back end was fine. Offense wasn't terrible. Just like
no,
it happened. Did Wander or did Yandy play?
Yandy did not play.
No. So, who was your hype train?
Yandy was my hype train. He got a cortisone shot.
He was your scary. Who was your hype train?
Sorry, my hype train was. It's a good question. I did it yesterday. Danny Jansen. He went 0 for 3.
Okay, I was gonna say if he didn't play, none of our scaries nor hype trains would have played.
Who were yours? Remind the people.
Mine were Shane McClanahan was my scary, and my hype train was Santiago Espinal.
Yeah, both of us picked rotational players. Otto Lopez got in the game. You didn't even mention that. That's crazy for me.
I was about to, actually. It was a toss-up between him and Foster Griffin getting the mention.
Bradley Zimmer got in. He struck out in his 1 at-bat.
Hey, if he's not playing against Justin Verlander, he doesn't do much.
Okay, here's a question for you.
Okay.
Crazier. Whit multi-homer game. Zimmer homers off Verlander.
Zimmer, dude. Zimmer hit a homer off of Verlander, and he has like 100 average otherwise.
And he's got like 11 major league homers for his career.
Like, that's insanity. Hold on, I feel a sneeze coming on.
All right, well, you mute yourself as I look up the number of homers Bradley Zimmer has in his career. He has 21, so I'm slandering him a little bit.
I'm trying to look at the light to get myself to sneeze.
He hit, that's more information than we needed. It's not even gross, but I don't know why. I just don't like it.
It's not working.
He's hit 2 this year. He had 8 in 2 separate years. Some big power years for the machine.
He's the GOAT, dude. No.
Just machine. Right.
Just
yeah.
machine.
Pujols has nothing machine.
All right. That's enough game react for us. We are going to take a quick break. On the other side, we talk about Jose Berrios is not going to make a playoff start. It's just not going to happen. But first, BetOnline.net is your number 1 source for football betting info this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news podcasts, and in-depth articles of analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sporting wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online where the game starts.
Bonjour. Let's keep rolling. It's Locked On Blue Jays, your Friday episode. Happy Friday. It wasn't a happy Thursday, but it's okay. Blue Jays are going to bounce back, but we have to talk about the playoffs coming up. Obviously, they still have to clinch it, but it's on everyone's mind. And we had gone on recently and talked about how Jose Berrios may be creeping back into the should he start conversation. Strip had struggled. Berrios had a good September to start. It feels like that time is done, but I option it to you, Mr. Bones. In any situation, would you start Jose Berrios in a playoff game?
I mean, what do we
Barring
say?
like
Any
barring like
situation?
injury, like
Okay. Yes, I would. If it
let's
were
hear it.
something like, if it were the ALCS and they were up 3-0, or even if it were the DS and they were up 2-0, um, I would start Barrios just because I'd want to have Stripling or, in the other case, Manoah for game one of the World Series or game one of the CS. Just take a
Fair.
shot on him for a game. And if it doesn't work, start the other guy.
So you had that feeling.
Okay.
I think you have a legitimate case, somewhat on your reasoning, somewhat on other reasoning. So we haven't really gone over the playoff schedule. It's weird this year. It's a bit different. The wild card games, 3 days in a row. It's like a series. It's October 7th, 8th, and 9th. It comes up right after the end of the regular season. We will talk about that in our next segment. Let's say it goes 3. Alek Manoah starts game 1 on the 7th. Kevin Gausman game 2 on the 8th. Ross Strip game 3 on the 9th. And you win, let's say. Then the Blue Jays head to the division series, which starts on October 11th. So that means 3 days in between of rest, 4 days rest if you count the days pitching on. So 4 days rest for everyone in the next series. You'd prefer 4 days rest to Berrios starting game 1?
So, can you say it again? I'm so sorry.
If Alek Manoah starts game 1 card round, he would be on 4 days rest, provided no matter what. If he were to start the DS game 1, he would be on 4 days rest in between those 2 game 1s.
And would I rather have Barrios?
Yeah.
Just so Alek could get one more day? Honestly, it would depend if it's home, which it wouldn't
The
be.
DS will not be home no matter what.
So no, I would want Alek on the mound.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't want to start Barrios in any situation that wasn't a home game, but don't know necessarily if I can pick and choose that.
The Blue Jays kind of can. It depends. I agree with you. I think there are some that are worried. Alek's stuff, if you grade it out, has dropped a little bit off in the later parts of the season. He's still an absolute baller, and it's completely relative. But he's been a little bit shakier in the second half than the first half. If you're wondering, Bones is so home road split. Jose Berrios at home this year, 7-1 with a 3.98 ERA. On the road, not including this 2 innings, 6-run performance, he is 4-4, which is remarkable, with a 6.19 ERA, and that will go.
Look at the strikeout numbers too, though. On the road, 54 strikeouts and 72 2/3. Like, that's crazy bad.
Yeah,
compared to what he does at home.
He's still under a strikeout per inning at home, which is alarming, but it's not as bad.
Yeah.
He's also pitched more innings at home, 13 1/3 more, and given up 6 more homers on the road, not including tonight again. So I tend to agree with you there. You do get into some interesting spots, game 4 of a series. That would be Alek on 3 days rest after Alek on 4 days rest. Game 4 of the ALDS. The way I see it, and I don't know if you agree, if they are on the brink of elimination, if they are down 2-1, you might have to throw Alek out there.
Well, I think
if you're not on the brink of elimination, you're on the brink of going through. So it's kind of tough.
Brink of elimination, though, I stopped considering who's going to pitch the next series, game 1. I don't care at that point. At that point, it's just about advancing. So
I don't
I
mean
pitched
for game
Alek.
one though. It's just rest. Like, do we think Alek on 4 and then 3 days rest after that would be good enough?
Yeah, but at that point, it's like you start whoever's going to win you the game, right? So if I can start Alek, like if it's not on 2 days rest and it's an elimination game, I'm starting Manoah. But also, like I am not so upset about starting Gosman because he's got playoff experience from
He would
last
be
year and
on,
he's a veteran and it's okay.
in my scenario, he would be on even shorter rest in theory.
Okay, and Strip's not bad either.
He would have pitched the day before. Because it's like Alek pitches game 1, then
You're
Gosman,
right.
then Strip. So game 4, Alek. It's a real. It's, games 1 to 3 are the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Game 4 is the
Yeah, that's
14th.
pretty crazy.
Really condensed schedule. Bullpens are going to be huge. Would you be more
Nope.
surprised to see Jose Berrios
Oh, I thought you were going to say bullpen game.
or a bullpen game?
No, don't do bullpen game. Not in the playoffs.
What about an
I don't want to see that.
opener for Berrios?
Don't hate that. Don't hate that.
Avoid
okay.
the top. Like, let's say it's the Yankees. I mean, let's say they finish 4 or 5, which is the 1 or 2 wild card, and they win. Then they play the Yankees. So you avoid Judge, Stanton, Rizzo. I don't know who. Stanton's not hitting in
It's
the top
Judge.
3.
Well, if they get DJ back, it'll be DJ, Judge, Rizzo.
Okay, so you avoid DJ, Judge, Rizzo, and then
you got to face Stanton, Carpenter if he's back, and whoever.
Matt Carpenter had a great 30 games, but I'm not going to put him with Judge and Stanton for now. It's still Berrios doesn't have to go through that Judge route at least once. So I think there's a chance he gets a start. With the way it's condensed, he almost has to in a way. It's a shame that there's not any more confidence in him. And it's a little bit of shame that, a lot of teams would have a serviceable 5-starter that they consider using instead. Blue Jays just aren't in that position. With a healthy Hyunjin Ryu, there's a chance that he would be the 4 and Berrios wouldn't get starts this playoffs. But that's what the situation is. And like you, I wouldn't freak out. The thing about Berrios is as much up, he does have the ability this year to still occasionally dominate games. Like every once in a while, he goes out there up like a run, but he'll just go like 6 2/3 1 run, and he's done it against good and bad teams. So there's always that factor that he could Jose Berrios again. So I'm cool with that. I think the people are ready to hear some ads like right now.
Alrighty, those are pretty good ads, huh? Matt Bonaparte, Ben Shulman still here on Locked On Blue Jays. We just talked a bunch of starting pitching. We'll talk a little bit more. We did talk about Manoah, but I will read this tweet from Arash Madani, who says Alek Manoah to start Saturday at the Tropicana Field, meaning he won't pitch against the Yankees next week. The Jays are keeping the scenario in mind to have Manoah start game 162 if winning the series finale means hosting the wild card series. Home field would be great, Schneider said. Of course it would. Everyone wants home field.
So I'm going to break down the first thing really quickly.
Go ahead, man.
It's the less important thing. So there was a chance for them to line him up for the Yankees. At this point, they're not going to catch the Yankees. It doesn't really make sense. If they were in a position to try and catch the Yankees and they had won the first 2 games of the Yankee series, they could reasonably put him in game 3 and keep him on a 5-day rest schedule, shuffle some other people around. It would make sense. It doesn't. The big thing is, would you pitch Alek Manoah? Let's say, you and the Rays are playing at the same time with the same record. You're going to pitch, or I guess it looks like the Blue Jays are going to lose this tiebreaker. So in theory, you got to be like a game up. Are you going to pitch Alek Manoah to secure home field advantage over starting him game 1 in the playoffs?
It's a good question. It really is. It's about how much you value home field in the playoffs, and a guy like me, I value it. So I probably would throw Manoah in that game 162 if it meant home field. And then I'm okay starting Gausman and Strip and then Manoah. That's fine with me.
For me, I honestly kind of feel the opposite. I'm a little worried about that because I see the scenario where you throw him and then things go awry and he doesn't even pitch in the wild card round. I mean,
Well,
if
how
you
about
don't
this?
win one of the first two, he doesn't pitch.
That's true.
And he's gonna pitch on short
But
like last game of the season. Let me get some dates for you, just to be a
say he
little.
pitches like, all right, say things go awry and he doesn't have a good start. He's down 4 in the 3rd inning. They take him out right there to save him for a wild card game.
Well,
What do you think about that?
I'm not saying he'd awry in his start. I just mean in the series. If you line him up for game 3 and you lose the first 2, he doesn't
Oh, they'll
pitch.
pitch somebody else. Oh, you mean
But
the wild card series?
the wild card series.
No, but I'm saying in that game 162. What if you take him out early if things are going poorly?
But he's
So
still
you
going
could
to pitch
save
in
him.
game. If things are going poorly, he's going to have thrown a decent number of pitches. I still think you end up like the last game of the season is the 5th. And wild card game 3 is the 9th. You're already going to pitch him on 4 days rest if you do that.
This is true.
What could be a factor too, it's not official, but it has been reported that it looks like the I guess the ban, if you want to call it, on unvaccinated foreigners to Canada could be lifted by September 30th, which would mean vaccinated or not, every major league player could come to the Rogers Center again. And while if we had more time and I, cared less about people coming at me in comments and stuff, I would go in depth about how I don't really think it's been an advantage, but in this one scenario, it would be an advantage, obviously, for players to not be there during a playoff series. That won't be in play. Not to say the home field still doesn't have its advantages. It absolutely does. But that is a big facet that's no longer likely going to be a part of it.
I just think playing in the playoffs at home compared to away is actually a real thing.
It's fair.
And we saw that last year at plenty of teams. So I think it's just better to play it in front of the home crowd, and especially for a Blue Jays fan base that would love to see it and would definitely sell out the park. So I don't know. I'm for him pitching that game 162. And you're saying if it goes awry, I mean, you kind of have to hope with Manoah on the mound it doesn't. And they win that game. But it's baseball, so anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think my worst worries are it going awry in games 1 and 2 of the wild card round more than that. But I do have a good bit of faith in Gausman and a pretty solid faith in Stripling as well. So I'm not predicting that if they did it, the Blue Jays would just lose the first 2 of the wild card round and not get a chance for Manoah to pitch. But I am worried about it. But it's an interesting topic. I'm sure it's going to get broken down a lot more because Alek's the man. And where he's pitching decides a lot for this baseball team. What the best case scenario would be? That they don't have to worry about it on the last day of the season.
Yeah, that honestly, is the best case scenario.
Good or bad, it's better for them, I think, to just not have to worry about anything on the last day of the season.
Yeah, you hope 162 is a non-game for the Yankees and the Jays at that point. All right. Well, that's all I got on it.
Me as well.
Thanks for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen today. Go make the second one PFS, Paul Francis Sullivan, his Locked On MLB podcast. He brings humor. He's bringing jokes. He's bringing passion. He's going to be yelling. And he is thinking outside the box, people. A unique perspective he's giving you on every team and the biggest stories around the league. It's the number one daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. I'm Matt Bonaparte. That's Ben Shulman. We will see you on Monday to recap this series.